Hi, I'm Adriana, physiotherapist and yoga instructor, and today's video will be a trauma-informed restorative yoga practice to help you work through anything that you are feeling after you may have experienced some trauma. So feel free to jump into something comfortable. It might be nice to grab blankets, pillows, a bolster, a block, anything that you have in your house that you might find will be supportive for you. Feel free to go grab those things and we'll get started. In today's practice, we'll move through a few different forms. So I'll be starting in child's form today, and I'll give you a couple different variations that you can use for child's form. Throughout this practice, I want you to know that you can choose whatever form works for you. You don't have to follow what I am doing. This is your time to choose what is going to work best for you and what is going to feel most restorative for you. So I'll give you a few options. Feel free to follow along if you would like. If something else feels better for your mind and your body today, feel free to choose that. So in child's form, there's a few different variations you can use to start. You might choose to have your legs wide, or you might choose to have them closer together. There's options of stacking up some pillows or grabbing a bolster, using that to bring a little bit different support to your upper body as you lie down in child's form. You might decide that you want a blanket over top of you. This might feel supportive for you. You might choose that you don't want any props at all and you want to lie directly on the mat with nothing else, and that is totally fine. You get to choose what works best for you today. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever's going to feel restorative for you. So if you're deciding to join me in whatever variation of child's form that feels good for you, I invite you to do that now. To perhaps take a second to sink into the form. To decide what is feeling good for you right now. You might start in one variation and decide that that's not working for you today. That's completely okay. You always get to choose. You might decide to gaze gently at the ground in front of you. Maybe you close your eyes completely. Maybe you keep them open. Whatever you're deciding, I invite you to be curious and note if it feels restorative to you. Restorative might mean something different to everyone, so whatever that means to you, perhaps just ask yourself, does this feel restorative? And if it doesn't, you can choose to do something different. Often after we have experienced something traumatic or been through a level of trauma, It might be harder to recognize that in this present moment, you are safe, you do get the choice, you are in complete control of this practice. Just remember that you are in control. You can move in and out of any variation of any form at any time. Now I'll be staying in this child's form for another minute or two. If you would like, you can join me in focusing on your breath. Perhaps paying attention as your breathing enters and exits your nose or your mouth. If it feels hard to pay attention to your breathing, that is normal, that's okay. You can always focus on something else, perhaps a sensation of the mat against your body. If you have any blankets or pillows, perhaps the sensation of those. We'll spend one more minute here. You might choose to discover if there's another variation of this form that feels more restorative for you in the last minute. Maybe putting your arms down by your side. Maybe bringing the arms over to one side and then the other. Always your choice. If you're still in child's form, I invite you to find some movement, maybe wiggling the body back and forth, maybe slowly coming back up. The next couple forms I'll be taking for today will be on my back. I'll show you the next one, and once again, you can choose if it looks like something that will be restorative for you. I'm going to lie on my back with some extra back support. Placing a block or a bolster underneath your back, or perhaps a couple pillows. You might want to just lie completely flat on your back. That's completely okay. Always remembering and always coming back to the fact that this is your practice. You are in control. You get to choose what works for you. If you are joining me in this form, there's a few different variations you can take here. If you have your back with extra support, you might choose to bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. You might choose to keep the legs straight. You may decide to bring the arms up into what I call cactus arms, so the elbows bent, forearms back into the ground. Perhaps feeling a bit of a sensation through the chest. You might decide to keep the arms straight, but have them a little bit out wider for a different stretch and different sensation. Lots of variations, and of course, if none of those sound good to you, you can find your own variation. Note that nothing should feel painful or uncomfortable here. Everything should feel restorative. Now, once again, be spending a couple minutes in this variation. You might decide to focus on your breathing as well here. And your gaze can be open or closed, whatever works for you. If you're finding it hard to focus on your breathing or focus on what your body is feeling and what sensations are happening, find something that feels good to focus on. Maybe that's feeling or someone in front of you. I'll be spending one more minute here. Feel free to stay with me or once again come out at any point. Something was working for you at the start and it's no longer working. You don't need to feel bad or guilty about that. Always your choice. You can decide to stay in or come out of any form for as long as you would like. So with me, maybe you can relax even more. What would that look like for you? Taking one more breath here. In your own time, moving into the next form. This will be our second last form for today. This form will be a twist with some extra support for myself. I'll be lying on my back here, taking both knees up and placing them over onto my block and my pillow here. So if you have pillows or a bolster at home, you might decide to use that. There's the option of placing both legs directly on the ground. You might decide that having your legs a little bit more separated and over to one side feels better for you. Those are a few variations that might feel restorative. Once again, if there's something else that you think would feel better for your body, feel free to do that. Perhaps taking a second to see if there's any sensation you can notice in this variation. Maybe some pulling through the back or the side of the leg. We'll spend a few minutes here. Always remembering that this is completely your practice. If you don't like this form, if it's not working for you, you can choose to change it. You are safe in this moment to decide for yourself what works for you. Taking 5 more breaths here. Nice deep, gentle breaths through my nose and exhaling through my mouth if you'd like to join. If you are joining with me when you're done your 5 breaths, I invite you to twist to the other side. I don't have as much room on this side, so I'm going to change the variation. I think that'll feel more restorative for me on this side. Once again, on this side, there's different variations you can choose. You can have one leg down further. You can decide to use different pillows or bolsters or blocks or nothing at all. Because you chose one thing on one side of the body doesn't mean you have to choose that on the other side. It's completely your decision. Not right or wrong, whatever you're feeling in this moment is what you are feeling and it's what you need. So you can choose. I'll be spending one more minute here. You might decide to join me in taking a deep breath in through the nose, and on the exhale, releasing through the mouth anything that you feel you are holding in your body. Inhale. Maybe you do that one more time with me. Inhaling through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Taking 3 more breaths if you're still with me. And perhaps slowly moving out of this form in your own time. If there's any counter movement that feels good for you, anything your body is calling for, maybe a nice big stretch of the arms or stretch of the legs. Feel free to do that. Moving into our final form of today, it'll be a supported shavasana. So it might look a little bit different than what shavasana typically looks like, and that's okay. So for this, I'll be lying on my side partially, and I'm going to place my upper leg bent over the pillow here, just for a little extra support through the hips and through the top leg. Now, you can always choose to do something completely different. You can lie on your back, you can lie on your stomach. You might decide you want more pillows supporting your head, or perhaps more pillows supporting your top leg. Whatever you feel is going to be restorative for you is completely okay. We'll spend our last few minutes in this form. You might decide to gaze forward at the ground or gently close the eyes. Always knowing that this practice is meant to be restorative. It is meant to feel safe and comforting to you. And if it doesn't feel that way, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you at all. It just might not be what your mind and your body is needing today. Perhaps as you lie in your final resting form, you can relax the jaw, relax the face. Maybe you decide you need more blankets or you need to grab a sweater or some slippers. Feel free to do any of those things if that feels like it is calling to you. You are in control. You are safe in this moment. We'll spend roughly 1 more minute here. If you feel called to switch to the other side, feel free to do that. Maybe you take this time to scan through your body from head to toe and notice if there's anywhere that feels more tense than other areas, or perhaps has more pain than other areas. Maybe you can just send some extra love, extra healing energy to those areas right now. More than welcome to stay in this form or any other form for as long as you would like. I will be ending the practice here, so thank you so much for practicing with me today.